Good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic Live from the RNC. We're working the floor here, and we ran into Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne from Texas, the great state of Texas.
Great state of Texas, absolutely, yeah.
Home of Buc-ee's, home of Whataburger.
Home of Dallas Cowboys.
Home of Dallas Cowboys, that's right. I quit watching sports. I did years ago, but, I wanted to talk to you.
Can we talk about the Mavericks or the Dallas Stars? I'm just saying,
oh, the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars that they robbed from Minnesota. Anyways, now we have the Wild. We used to have the North. Oh, yeah. I talk about the Dallas Stars. Dallas gets a hockey team over Minnesota. Come on. Anyway.
Turco, baby. Come on.
Okay, so you, as a congresswoman, are in the Ways and Means Committee, but you used to be a mayor.
Yes.
And folks, we're always hearing from the media, how can he possibly deport all these people? How is he going to do this plan? And you actually have some things to say about that.
Yes.
So talk to me about how Donald Trump can work with mayors and deport people who are here illegally.
Well, I'll tell you, I was on the city council from 2004 to 2010, and then I was a mayor from 2011 to 2017. What we did, this is during Obama years, right? Early on, what we found was that we had a lot of folks who were coming into our communities illegally. The cost at the local level is immense. So you're looking at schools, you're looking at hospitals, you're looking at healthcare, you're looking at housing. I mean, all of those things start adding up.
Yeah.
And who has to pay for it? It's at the local level, not at the federal level. And you're finding that this is a problem at the federal level. So what we did was we took it seriously. We saw that crime was increasing. We took it seriously. So we contacted Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and we worked out a partnership with them that when our law enforcement would stop people who were committing a crime, if they could not prove that they were in the country legally, we detained them. We contacted ICE. ICE came and they interviewed them, and if they were found to be here illegally, they were deported. And it was amazing what happened. We had more criminal illegals deported than any other city per capita in the country. And I'll tell you, like, New York Times wrote nasty pieces about us. They call us racist, they call us haters, you name it. And we were threatened that, people aren't going to want to move to your community. People are going to leave. Yeah. Businesses aren't going to want to come there. Well, the fact is that what ended up happening is our crime rate plummeted. We became the 5th safest city in the country. And by the way, Irving, Texas is the 92nd largest city in the country. It's about 250,000 people. This is a major city. Okay. Being the 5th safest city in the country meant something. And what we found was people from around the country wanted to come there. We became one of the fastest growing cities in the country. And when we started looking at our economic development, we had businesses that were booming and businesses that were moving from places like California and New York because people were voting with their feet and they wanted to live in a community, guess what, that was safe. So there is a way to be able to deport the 13 to 14 million people who have illegally entered our country, especially those that you see committing crimes in places like New York, beating up our police officers, raping women, children, committing crimes, and committing murder. There is a way to deport these people, and it's working in partnership with local law enforcement.
And that's actually what Trump has talked about. But I think you need to be the head of some sort of task force on this. That's what I've come to the conclusion of right now, because you've done it, you've experienced it, and it's worked.
I was part of the Trump administration his first 4 years. I was there for 2.5 years. I worked under Secretary Ben Carson. It was a tremendous honor. It was a great experience, and I am happy if the president calls me, I'm happy to be able to help in any way.
Cool. That's great. Now, also, so that's the solution. But how bad is the border crisis right now down in Texas?
It's horrible.
Yeah, because I went down there. I'll just tell you a quick experience. I went down there helicopter hog hunting. Folks, that's one of the greatest experiences of your life. Let me just tell you.
Were you at night?
No, it wasn't night. I know that would up it. Take it to an 11. Okay. But when I was down there, the ranch that I was on was in Beeville.
Yeah.
Now, it's a ways from the border. I mean, it's getting close, but it's still a ways. And he's got people crossing through his property all the time, abandoning vehicles, all kinds of stuff. I mean, I got to hear it. I mean, they're like in the middle of the night, they got people running across their fields and they're getting woke up. I mean, just in your words, how bad is it? Tell me.
I will tell you, in Texas, it is better now because we have a governor who has actually taken it seriously and said, you know what, the federal government is not doing its job. We've got sovereignty rights under the Constitution and we're going to use them. And so they've actually had to use state resources, even though we pay how many billions into our federal, federal coffers to do that job. That is a job that the federal government is supposed to do, is protect our borders. They're not doing it. So Governor Abbott has actually had to call a National Guard and others down there to do that job. And what's happened? The Biden administration's suing. They're going down there and physically opening up barriers that our governor has put in. Now, I will tell you, by actually enforcing the laws at the borders, what they found was a 70% decrease in people who are criminally entering our country.
70%? Are you serious?
In 30 days. Decrease. The crossings, but where do they go? To more porous areas like New Mexico, like California.
And Arizona, where Katie Cartel Hobbs is.
You know it. But I mean, enforcing our border laws actually works, and it would be great if this administration would try it. They are now in a desperate attempt, looking at their polling numbers before November, in a desperate attempt to try to do something. They're finally admitting that it is an issue, but it's taken dropping polling numbers for them to do something.
It's an issue, but you see, it's a Republican issue because they didn't want to approve that plan that gave more power to President Biden, and actually, the whole thing was so bad, and I can't believe their messaging.
It was horrible, and I'll tell you, the plan that they wanted to put in place would actually normalize 4,500, 5,000 to 8,000 people coming in a day. And what they said was, once it hit 8,000 in one day, or an average of 5,000, over a week per day, then they could stop it. Well, if you could stop it at 5,000, why couldn't you stop it at 4,000? Why couldn't you stop it at 2,000? Why are you not enforcing our laws? You're admitting you can.
Exactly.
You're just allowing a certain number of people in to begin with. And under the Trump administration, when you talk to people like Tom Homan, he will tell you, if we had a day that we had 1,000 people crossing, that was an emergency. And we got down there, we took care of it. This, that bill that they said was the Republican fix, we never would have agreed to that. 4,500 people, 5,000, 8,000 people coming in a day is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, the House actually sent a good bill over.
We sent H.R. 2 was a phenomenal bill.
Yeah.
It fixed. Now, I think it didn't go far enough, because we actually had to target the cartels, which we're not doing.
Yes.
But I was promised that we're going to have another bite at that apple. We've been fighting to just try to get H.R. 2 out of the Senate. If they wanted to secure our borders, one, the president didn't need a bill. President Biden was the one who, from day one, started taking policies off the table that were working that you didn't need any kind of a bill for.
Well,
what we had to do with H.R. 2 is to force the administration to do its job, but the Senate wouldn't help us. They would not support it.
Yeah, I remember, because he bragged about it, that he was going to just rescind all these executive orders, and he did it.
And he did.
And he did it.
And guess
That's
what?
one of the few times Joe Biden's been true to his word.
14 million people illegally crossing our country later, over 100,000 deaths as a result of fentanyl later, and how many people, how many moms, how many daughters, how many children have been murdered as a result. We know that we have 85,000 kids in this country that we have no idea who they are or where they are. And this administration is turning a blind eye. When you ask why, well, one, all you have to do is listen to people like Yvette Clarke, who is a Democrat out of New York, who has said, we need to have illegals come into my district because New York lost a congressional seat. And so we need to have the increase in population. We need to have the increase in population. So where are they? They're going to New York, they're going to California to increase the number of congressional seats that they get. And when you start thinking about 14 million people, that's like 13 to 14, by the way, more than that, new seats in the House, and they're trying to populate them in blue areas. This is all about power. This is all about control. This is not about people needlessly losing their lives. This is not about the crime that's running rampant in our cities. This is about Democrats being power hungry and doing nothing more than trying to grab and hold on.
You're just heartless. I mean, this is really about being a humanitarian and letting everybody into our table.
Yeah. Well, if they've been down at the border and they've seen the conditions, the horrific conditions that these people have had to go through to get to our border, if they see the sex trafficking that's happening right now as a price that a lot of these women and young boys are having to pay to get here, this is a humanitarian crisis. They were absolutely correct. It's a humanitarian crisis, and it's being caused by lax border laws that are encouraging sex trafficking and drug trafficking within our country.
We just had Tim Ballard on. We just interviewed Tim Ballard, and yeah, this is what's going on at our border, and this is what's causing all of this, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop. Let me ask you a question. Okay, so this is one issue Republicans seem to be pretty united on as a caucus. Like they're all kind of voting that way. But there's other issues where we're not as united as the Republican caucus. So to get the agenda move forward through this next Congress, how many seat majority? I'm asking for how many seat majority do you think that the Republicans need?
Are you talking about in the House or are you talking about in the Senate?
In the House.
In the House, look, we need to have a healthy majority. Right now, you have 1-2 voices that can really stop a piece of legislation. And HR 2 is probably a really good example that almost got stopped because 1 or 2 voices didn't want to proceed. We've got to have respect, recognizing the fact that you've got some of the more vulnerable members in New York, for example, that their constituency is not the same as mine in Texas. Yes. We all have different constituencies that we represent. We've got to respect that. But I think if we think about some of the practical solutions that we have that work, whether or not that's American energy independence, whether or not that's strong trade, fair trade, not necessarily free trade but fair trade. When we look at our foreign policy, everything that we should be able as a not only as a conference but literally as a Congress should be able to get behind. We have rising healthcare costs. We've got rising education costs. We need to look at what's happening to our debt. Look what's happening to our deficit. Those are things that we should be able to get in line. There will always be people that are saying we're doing too much, and there are going to be people who are saying we're not doing enough. We've got to come in the middle and be able to figure out at least we're moving and we're doing something that's positive. Now, I know we've taken a lot of criticism this last session. People are saying, oh, no, this is like the most ineffective Congress you've ever had. I would say stop for a second. My job is not just to pass good legislation. My job is to fight really bad legislation.
Amen.
And when you look at the first 2 years that I was in Congress, when I was in the minority, the most horrific bills that we passed that added trillions of dollars to our debt, those were bad bills. So the fact that we're able to stop those now because having a majority prevents them from ever getting on the floor for a vote is a good thing. So I don't want to downplay fighting bad bills as really being a large part of what we do in Congress.
Well, I actually, people talk about the Do Nothing Congress.
You want us to.
I want you to do nothing, typically.
In Texas, we solve that by only being in session every 2 years, right? Like, we automatically do that for us.
Yeah. To me, it's like, well, everybody complains about the Do Nothing Congress. It's, gridlock. God, praise God for gridlock. Otherwise, we'd be getting all this stuff passed that we didn't want passed. That infringes on our freedoms more. So that's just kind of where I come from. But you brought up energy independence, which is another big thing in Texas. And it's another thing that Joe Biden has basically worked to stop here in America. Energy production. He's opposed to fracking. He's opposed to everything unless, it funds Al Gore's green deals or something. So Al Gore can make more hundreds of millions of dollars, quite frankly. And the other environmentalists, they're not really environmentalists. They're environmental profiteers is what I call them. But
He's not against everything. Joe Biden is not against everything. He is all for regulations.
Yes.
He is all for, demonizing our American energy producers at the same time as yelling at them to create more. But he puts everything in their way to be able to stop, whether or not that's withholding permits, whether or not that's adding more costs, on the regulatory side, or just more boxes that they have to check that make it more expensive.
Talk about this one.
Yeah.
So he always talks about how, these oil companies aren't using their federal leases. I know the answer.
If they could get the permits, maybe we could use the leases. But how they have it set up is it has to be able to at least pay for the costs, which means they have to be able to drill in more than one spot. And the way that it's set up right now is you can drill here, oil may be here, oil may be there, but if you can't reach to it, the cost involved in just setting it up initially is the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yes.
And they make it specifically like that, and then Biden will claim, oh no, it's the energy producers' fault. No, it's not. We had an opportunity under Trump that we were energy independent, and then we had an opportunity to be able to help our allies across the seas, not having to use military might, but being able to use the influence from trade and from being able to provide them with LNG, that they were not necessarily dependent on places like Russia, on Iran, for those types of resources. We could do that again. But what we have seen is an administration that has added $1.7 trillion of additional regulatory costs on our businesses since he's taken office. We have seen him demonize the energy producers and be able to put every single governmental, federal bureaucracy, red tape in regulatory issue in their way of being able to actually create more. And what's happened as a result? 20% inflation. That's what you've seen. People are paying more at the pump. They're paying more at the grocery store. That is a direct result of his assault on American energy.
Yeah, it is. Well, it sounds like you have some plans.
We do.
Yes, and we got to get Trump elected so that the Congress can do things. We need to get people deported. It really is real, and it sounds like it's possible now, doesn't it? Doesn't that sound possible? So, Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Chris.
Folks, we'll see you on the next episode. Peace out.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my two best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size, only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size, only $99.98. Don't delay, order today.